I know, right? She said you're right.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for sticking around. I was a bit worried, talking after the coffee break. So it's good to see everyone's still interested in what's going on. A couple of housekeeping things. After this session, lunch will be served in the room exactly next door. And also, Turan and APCOL guys will be, during lunch, available here in this room as well for if anyone wants to have a quick private chat with them. Also, please make sure that we do have your correct contact details. If you haven't dropped your business card in at the front desk, do so, because after the event we will be sharing copies of the information that's being presented, to aid you in that. And I think those are the key points. Yeah. Okay, good. So we've been hearing a bit about the opportunity with the deep terminal, oil terminal. Also, my colleague Jeremy gave a quick roundup of some of the opportunities in Myanmar. It's clearly a very fast-growing country, but it is a bit of a chicken and egg situation. We see this in most developing nations, where what do you build first, the road or the oil terminal or the power grids? Or it all seems to be all very important and all needing to be done immediately. Hence, as we heard from JP earlier, from Park Advisors, the two-phased approach for the terminal in terms of the initial phase one, just to be able to get the very urgently needed petroleum products into the country. And I mention that because when I was looking at the situation of the energy sector in Myanmar, there clearly, unless there was some miraculous, huge amount of money being thrown at it and huge resources for the very foreseeable future, I'm talking about not just years but potentially decades, there is going to be a massive shortfall in terms of what can be generated in terms of particularly transportation fuels, which of course is of big interest to Singapore trading firms and exporters. So my agenda here, just to take a look at and summarize in the paper which you have before you, in terms of the oil and gas sector, some of the what's going on in Myanmar. Also just mentioning some of the scenarios. We're sort of trying to, look at some of the potential scenarios that may happen in terms of Myanmar's development, the what-ifs, and put a couple of those to you, and looking at, as Jeremy mentioned earlier, sort of risk-reward factors. And it's our assessment. It's a qualitative kind of on the ground, taking everything into account and trying to break it down. It's not a precise science, but it's just trying to get a handle on things in terms of a market entry. So in terms of consultants, the sort of things we do is sort of companies come to us and say, we want to get into this market, and we have to go through this kind of slightly quantitative and qualitative process to kind of weigh up, well, what bits can you get into quickly and what steps do you need to take and how quickly that's going to take. Okay, well, the good thing is that there is a Ministry of Energy in Myanmar. That does help. So we have people we can actually talk to, and that is a very effective and sort of broken down split of roles and responsibilities. Probably for what we're talking about here in terms of the oil terminal, going to be mainly dealing with the MPPE, as bringing petroleum products into the country. And so, but also, of course, there are other opportunities, being able to bring in 50 to 70,000 ton deadweight ships into a terminal. You can bring in anything, so that, as we heard earlier, containers, fertilizers, and also export materials as well. Perhaps even import coal, who knows? If they start building lots of coal-fired power stations, they might even do that, depending on the quality. Now, Jeremy did mention about the energy policy, but the good thing is, and why I've put it in here again, is that as you'll see later on when we talk about the actual kind of demand growth for fuels, which is certainly of great interest to Singapore oil firms and traders, is that after the sanctions were lifting, 2013, Hillary Clinton pops along and says that everything looks good. We do see a massive jump in demand and a real kickstart to the economy, so there's no coincidence there. And it's good that we had the NEP policy put into place, and this seems to be also to be continued and followed through by the new government that kicks off this year. So there is at least a clear and short and long-term development plan there. So it is well coordinated, and believe me, in many of the countries that we end up doing work in, that is not always the case. So it's a very positive start, and certainly it has helped the development so far. And of course, enforcing laws related to private sector participation. My colleague Jeremy also mentioned about the FDI, about the fact that foreigners can own. They're making it very easy to even set up and get visas and do business in Myanmar. So everything at the moment is being pushed towards making things easy for people to get into the market rather than discouraging. Now, there is a major lack of refinery capacity. The first time I looked at Myanmar was probably about 2011, 2012, where I was involved in a rather interesting expert witness case where people were supplying fuels into Myanmar. Biggest issue as well, what was the price of fuels in Myanmar? I think it's a lot easier now to understand after the sanctions have been lifted. But over the last 5 years, no progress. Basically, refining capacity is still very, very insufficient, and what they do have doesn't work that well. It produces stuff which can be used for making roads sometimes, pretty much from what I've been able to see there. So Myanmar definitely expected to be a net importer of crude and petroleum products for the foreseeable future. Of course, plenty of gas reserves, as Jeremy alluded to in his section. There may be more gas held back for domestic use and reduce, probably, as Jeremy mentioned there, reducing the gas from Thailand, so that is a possible scenario which might skew the figures slightly. But again, the real problem is no transportation fuels. The gas, the middle distillates, the gasoline, the diesel, that's the biggest problem there at the moment, and the foreseeable future. So I'll mention this a little bit later on, of course. The need for the deep water oil terminals for importing is, over the last 10 years, when anyone's been able to send any fuels up to Myanmar, they've had to do it in very small ships. I mean, even if you take 6,000 to 7,000 ton ships with diesel or fuel up to Myanmar, you still can't get it very far. And so you've still got ship-to-barge transfers, which can be quite costly. And into barges maybe carrying 1,500 tons, and I certainly can vouch for the quality of the barge as well. So it could be that there could be some environmental insurance concerns for some of the larger companies, shall we say. So that's been the issue. So by the time we've done all that, we've added a lot of cost to the imports. So Myanmar, having to import products, really wants to be able to allow traders and oil firms to bring in 60,000 tons, 70,000 tons, and then break bulk it, hopefully with floating storage initially in phase 1, and then also with proper storage terminals in the bigger phase 2, and then barge it around. And I'll talk about the distribution because from earlier investigations we can see that Myanmar's kind of split up into 3 zones in terms of how you move stuff around in the foreseeable future, and certainly it's a real mixed mash of still barging, a little bit of railway track a bit, and then lorries in the south side of things. Now, imports of petroleum products to offset, and that's a picture of one of the refineries there. It doubles up as a golf course as well. You can see the tee off there in the middle. Yeah, it's pretty lush. Maybe it's part of the eco-friendly kind of approach there. But unfortunately, not much of the refinery infrastructure works that well. So we know the capacities, and probably 40% of that capacity is actually operational. And so there has been this high burden of freight. So this is one of the big incentives for Myanmar to support the project, is to reduce the overall cost of bringing in those much needed fuels to drive this new economic policy that has been put forward to you. Okay. Now, this was mentioned very briefly at the opening by Brendan from Park Advisors, and this has been quite, just to expand on that, we saw this huge jump, obviously, in fuel imports from the year 2014 to 15. And it's a bit like, my experience is where you build a gas pipeline, most recently sort of in Bangladesh. You make a big pipeline and suddenly gas demand goes up. So it's the same sort of thing. As more petrol stations, as more distribution start to open up, the demand is there. People need this for trucking, for setting up. We talk about electrical infrastructure, huge investments to get power distribution to the masses. That all requires lots of trucks, lots of diesel. So right now, we can expect very strong growth if the diesel is there. So I think we need the chicken, and then the egg will come along, I think, in this case. This is an example also where the 2015-16 scenario may look even stronger, and with import tenders. This is one example at the end of last year for a large commitment of diesel into Yangon. So that was a very positive kick-off for the growth rate for this year as well. So there's some good opportunities there. Now, this is pretty scary, and this doesn't look set to change much in the future. Looking at sort of the sketchy import datas, the information from the Ministry of Energy, this is sort of roughly, I'll take it with a little pinch of salt, it probably may be even less than this, but only 42% of gasoline and even only 11% of diesel. Diesel is perhaps one of the strongest growth areas just because of the trucking. You forget about four-wheel drive, you need 16-wheel drive and 16 gears in some parts of Myanmar at the moment. So it burns up a lot of diesel, actually. Forget about a fancy car, just buy a tractor. That's probably a good way to get around some of these areas. Talking to one of our sort of colleagues and his experiences of trying to get some exploration production people up inside town. John here is in the front, sort of, he shared interesting stories of how you sort of have to send sort of lead teams with fuel and food and stuff sort of further ahead of you so that you could carry on going. So this gives you an impression of the infrastructure and the potential, the low base that Myanmar's coming from. Is a very exciting opportunity. So big shortfalls, 330 million gallons of diesels. That's where also we've seen some of the biggest growth. Most of that coming from Thailand and Singapore. And obviously, the Thai exports could compete due to the short distances, but with a deep water oil terminal, it would mean that Singapore traders would also be able to compete even bigger because they'd be able to bring bigger volumes from Singapore probably than Thailand could export out to Myanmar, and the net freight cost per tonne, if you take 60,000 to 70,000 tonnes, that would be much lower than taking 7,000 tonnes. Now, in terms of refining capacity, there's lots of chit-chat and talk. There has been, some media coverage, some chit-chat about 200,000 barrels per day refinery. A lot of reports have been talking about plans for new refineries like Chinese groups, and I've got a map coming up in a moment on that. The largest we've heard is 200,000 barrels per day refinery discussed. But again, this is all just discussion at this point in time. Now, from our experience in Africa, in Nigeria, which also has a low cost of build, the latest figures there, it was much higher. Back in 2007, 2008, steel prices were much higher, so the build cost per barrel for your refinery is going to be much bigger. But as we all know, commodity prices are low at the moment. But Dangote in Nigeria wrote a personal check for 4 billion and borrowed another 4 billion to build a 400,000 barrel per day refinery in Nigeria, the first new refinery since the mid-1970s for the whole continent. Africa also has a similar issue as Myanmar. There are a lot of, in fact, parallels in terms of the challenges of development due to lack of transportation fuels. So unless someone's going to come in and write a big check, 4 billion onshore investment in Myanmar, which I'm sure will happen in the future, but not right now, not probably for many years, until everybody sees how the government goes. As Jeremy mentioned, we've heard that some banks, we can't mention who they are at this point, but several banks have been commissioned to help create some credit rating for Myanmar. So once that's in place, then people can start working the numbers and looking at how well the new government is running. So it's still several years away before someone can seriously look at such a huge onshore investment like that. To make things easier for investors in Africa and perhaps in Myanmar as well, with the deep, the deep water. I keep saying deep oil. Maybe there's a whole new thing. The deep water. Maybe it's deep oil treatment. Anyway, a deep water port is also opens up the opportunities to bring in gensets, floating storage, sort of phase one, which sounds very interesting because then the assets are floating. You can move it around to wherever it needs. You don't know how countries may develop. You can float it around. Even when the main terminal is built, you may move that to another opportunity as well. So floating assets. Roughly 10 years to develop a refinery. Well, by the time someone makes the plan and then goes to the project finance and then actually breaks the first ground and builds it, okay. If your reliance industry is in India, you can do it in 5 minutes and surprise the world. But that is a very remarkable project management feat. They had control over pretty much everything in a special economic zone and built a flexible refinery in record time. But given the lack of infrastructure already in place in terms of transportation, we're probably looking at 10 years there easily. And so let's take a look at some of the numbers. This is the best professional guess that we can come to give some ideas of how things could look. There are some existing refineries that could, if it all worked, produce 51,000 barrels per day of petroleum products, but it doesn't work, most of that. So in fact, that's where this massive shortfall is already occurring. Now, if the 207,000 barrels per day is the potential totals, that's if we were able to get all of the old refineries, which I'm led to believe by refining engineers would probably might as well just blow them up, flatten them to the ground and start again. But if we did get that to work somehow, as they're pretty aged, and added the ones that realistically kind of talked about in blue there, then with a reasonable, of course, we don't know the complexity that's being suggested for the new refineries, and that would affect the yields, of course. But, you know, as they say, diesel 62,000 barrels per day, gasoline 40,000 barrels per day. Lots of question marks beside that because you don't know what refinery design people are going to use or what sort of crudes they're going to utilise as well. So if we looked at all of that, which is kind of we know of, we'll come back to that as we hold that thought, you know, where are we in terms of meeting the demand if the no-one seriously planned refineries did actually happen? Okay. Well, 2013 highlighted there in a nice shade of sort of pink or purple. That's where you can see we sort of this big jump up. You know, sanctions were easing, people were getting in, Hillary Clinton turns up, and boom, everybody wants to get involved. All very positive. And then we could see strong growth after that as well. Now here we are, 2015, 2016. As you can see, most of the growth, again, diesel, gasoline. Later on, maybe a bit more on the aviation side. Very, very minimal on the fuel side. With that sort of growth, can we keep up? Well, let's say that tomorrow everyone approves all those refineries that we know could come into play, that have been seriously discussed, and let's say in 10 years' time they're all operational. And this is based on the current growth, and to be honest with you, from my experience, these are never right, and usually, certainly in a country like Myanmar, and as we've seen in African countries, as the infrastructure gets more and more robust and more installed, in fact, the whole demand picture spikes up much, much faster. So this is, I thought, even a conservative number. Okay. So if we looked at the potential refinement that's being discussed at the moment, and that investment did take place, did come in, we could still end up with a 50% shortfall. Yeah. That's and allowing for error still means we've got a shortfall. So there's still potential there, definitely, even if all those refineries could come in and be operational in 10 years' time. So unless everyone they switch the gas off completely to Thailand and everyone starts driving electric cars, looks pretty solid for diesel and gasoline traders to get involved in Myanmar, I would have to say. Now, in terms of distribution, when companies were looking at whole refinery import terminals to the south, the government actually did some review, and this is how the country's kind of been split into 3 sections at the moment. Of course, this is going to evolve as infrastructure improves, but at the moment, where the deep water oil terminal is being proposed is on the left-hand side on the west coast there. The idea is that large quantities would be brought in, break bulk, and then barged into the areas, and that's definitely the foreseeable future, distribution by vessels along the coastal developing areas. It's only part of the south where transport is possible purely by truck, and to the north, I couldn't find a picture of a donkey, but look at the far north, probably in the winter time. You've got railway and lorries, and then probably a donkey as well. In the far north, the region's very, very tough there, and gets very cold. So, not sure if there's any. We've got any ski resort projects? No, not yet. Okay. That's phase 3. So, got to get the jet fuel in there first, so we can start getting tourists in. So there is. This is sort of the government idea. Railway lorries. It links in with what Jeremy mentioned earlier in terms of improving the railway network to bring coal down and bring back transportation fuels. So you've got a 2-way flow there, coal down to the south. They've already got those 2 coal-fired power stations there, probably some more coming on the way, and then taking back up diesel and gasoline by railway up to the northern and northeastern regions. Okay. So, and that's sort of the bit which is going to be mainly covered by the sea, break bulking and barging into the coastal areas there for the foreseeable future. So scenarios, well, there's lots of scenarios. They are hypothetical. They could be massive policy shifts, who knows, but we doubt it in the next few years when the new government will be finding their feet. We were hearing over the weekend from colleagues, and we were discussing this, that it looks like the new government is making the right mix, bringing in some of the old guard from the previous governments in, making some a bit of a balance, not rocking the boat massively, so there's some continuity, but also progress going forward. Looking at, even on the conservative demand side, the old, low-operating refineries, we think cost too much to upgrade or repair, and that's been the case. Certainly from what I've seen in the last 5-6 years with the Myanmar situation. Maybe they'll be flattened, sold for scrap, which would be probably a good thing. They're not very efficient, and they don't have any desulfurization yet, so it's pretty smelly. Pretty bad for the environment up there. So even if they were new refineries built, financed, got an 8 to 15 year window where demand is going to surpass any supply that could be built in time, finance and then built in time, and still a shortfall of transport products. That's the more likely scenario. So again, great opportunities for trading and export there. Scenario two, unlikely, but they do have a zero carbon country at the moment, which is quite interesting. Potential coal and gas power and to complement the massive hydro that they have. There was talk about solar, wind. It does a little expensive right now with where oil prices are. If you take your oil prices, of course, it will recover when most people before today, last week I was in the Middle East and at a conference I was able to meet quite a few people from the GCC countries. General expectation of a slow price recovery. There may be an initial knee-jerk reaction. One of the OPEC members finally gives in to Saudi's pressure and cuts back because everyone was saying, how could we drop from $120 a barrel to $25 a barrel with only 1 million barrels per day over supply? It's pretty insane. I mean, only need Libya to switch off again. We're going to get back up. We basically just have enough oil supply for world demand. So Saudi increased. They might. The fact that Saudi playing market share, they want market share. They seem literally fed up of cutting back when others have continuously broken their quotas. So the scenario is kind of low but stable, maybe with a few spikes here and there, if because we don't have huge flexibility in supply unless Saudi increased if there was a problem. Okay, so prices will probably come back up, but we're still only looking at a $50 sort of tops max, $60 max. No one seems to be from whole Middle East a few days ago thinking above $60 unless there was some major problem. Iran oil's come back, but they've been massively damaged with their embargoes. So yes, they will increase their production. That is going to be 5 to 10 years slow process on money to get another 1 million barrels per day on the market. So the unlikely scenario is that oil prices will stay low. Unfortunately, that also means for me, gas prices will stay low, which means also they'll be much more interested in diversifying, following policy that they've been looking to increase agriculture exports. That's also a big tick in the box. If you've got a big terminal that can also export as well as import. and so also investment will be focused on developing those industries, and probably not developing refineries initially, and gasoline and diesel cheap enough just importing that. In terms of risk-reward factors, so this is where the fuzzy logic, or as Einstein says, the spooky physics comes into it. This is all a bit qualitative, but we've trying to look at the holistic situation in Myanmar, and we broke down 4 categories of paper into economy, policy and regulation, gas sector, environment, and then trying to look at their risk-reward scenario. So it's kind of like a market entry, so consultative speak, kind of like a market entry kind of thing. So this is not a review of the project which I was talking to you about today, but this is kind of an overall kind of Myanmar kind of risk kind of assessment and opportunity assessment as well. So we then categorised and then we added some weight. Now that weight is our judgment. Okay, so everyone else is going to have a different thing. They may agree or disagree with that. But it's just to try to have something to debate and discuss, which I'm very happy to do. So we broke it down into economy, policy, oil and gas, and environment, the key areas that we've discussed so far today. And this is what it kind of looks like. It's in the paper which you have for you. So in terms of the risk category weightings, we looked at economy. So economy and policy are sort of the key things. The new government needs to get the economy going, needs to get that 7% of unemployed labour in Russia find a job and build the economy, otherwise they're not going to win the next election. So economy is a big driver there, and quick fixes. Policy regulation is a kind of risk factor because we have a gut. So if we have the same conversations even in 6 to 9 months' time, that might become a lower weighting because we'll right now know the draft policies, but in a few months' time we'll know the real policies of the new government. Environment is a low risk category there at the moment. Of course, they are pretty much carbon neutral. It's going to take a long time before they could assess that up. Oil and gas sector, that's 25%. That's very important for their revenues, but also for the development and get those fuels as well. So we looked at those sectors, and overall, even with those sort of weightings, we've got a medium risk versus medium reward. The reward is definitely greater than any of the perceived qualitative and quantitative risks. It is a massively growing market. The challenge, of course, is the lack of infrastructure. And so again, that also ticking the box for anything that can help the initial importation of much needed transportation fuels, which then later on can also be export terminals to support the policy to drive agricultural exports and productivity. I think in Jeremy's slide they didn't stress it, but it was like there could be doubling of exports actually out of Myanmar. So that's quite a big driver and a diversifier for the economy, which is very important. Without weightings, which are our thoughts on things, nothing more than that, the risk would be assessed lower and the rewards even higher. So taking perhaps a conservative sort of view on things, it still looks like it's the Myanmar as a country looks very positive. And I think perhaps in fact just as an interesting exercise was reassess how well NLD is doing in 6 months' time and take fresh view of things. I think I'll be looking to probably reduce the policy simulation weighting on that. That would also make it even more attractive process in the country. So in closing, and we've of course a lot of data behind this, but we don't have a whole day to go through things. In closing, I'll just leave this slide again, showing that even if the current talk about refineries kicked in, there's still potentially a large shortfall in products. Even if there's another 2,000 barrels per day refinery on top of that, which is still just rumoured, there's still be a shortfall if these demands sort of curves work out. And from my experience, certainly developing countries with low base like Myanmar, which has just also had sanctions released as well, my gut experienced feel would be that we'll see these projections surpassed in a much shorter space of time in terms of demand for the transportation fuels, and I'd probably also err towards the diesel side for the trucking, given all of the expenditure and infrastructure projects have to be developed inside Myanmar. I'd say that diesel is strong, but will be probably far exceed expectations in terms of the demand for it. Some of that demand, not just transportation, may come in the short term as demand for electricity generation. Diesel is not a cheap way to make electricity. It's usually used as backup generation, but it's a quick fix to get power to coastal areas until you've put the infrastructure in place. Thank you very much.
Thanks to Brandon, Gerald, Jeremy, and Tom to explain about our real massive situation over there. You know that Myanmar, we got independence in 48, and then it was gone, the army in 58, after we got 10 years after we got independence. So since that time, the army is trying to take power each and every in 1962, from democratic country to a socialist country. Because of that, we've been suffering for such a time, because we really didn't experience economy. So one of the richest country in Southeast Asia, going to be this country. So we've been declared around in 1983-84. We tried like this country. And we got that right in 1988. And we had an election in 1990. That was first election free and fair. But those days, the Ladies Party and LLD, they had many friends. Some communists, some old army people, they've been suffering for such a long time. Mainly try to put their own identity to revenge. The existing army on that time. So the army don't want to give transfer power. So they say that you better start the new constitution. Then we'll see. Once that's safe, then we'll transfer. And then they try to put many people to be in jail, house arrest, to lady. And then the lady immigration, and now she got real understanding of how to carry on, deal with military. And then people are asking, this time also is landslide one and LLD. So the army also said that the country will not go down, and people left the country for almost 2 decades, 3 decades. So even I talked with the Thailanders, at present, the Burmese people, they've been given passports 2-3 years ago, 3-4 million officially working in Thailand. And then 2 million without passport cross border working. Some people go up to even Malaysia without any passport. So country facing a problem is to bring back those people. Even when we try to apply this project, we talking how local people to get sustainable. So most of the projects are facing problem in Myanmar when you look at that big project like aware and also project and the not like Chao because they just pay compensation. They don't think much about sustainability of people living there. That's why we try to say that whenever we start to say that I talk to the changes that we like to do, we like help people first, and then like start together with the development on the area, help people sustainable job like that. Otherwise, once you give money, they use those money to come back to it again. And then they need places. Some people go like fishing, some people go business, some people like still keep following. So we have to allocate when we settle. This is a project that I like to do. This project will help half of the population in the country. Because the one connected that area has 8 million people. If you go down to the west, Yangon, around 7 million, the Go division is around 6 million. And then if you go and connect the GMS subdivision, so this is like Karen and Mon State, school another 5 million. So we say that if you can build highway road and then the railroad to connect our area, this will help the population in the country. And a lot of people get a job. But this is very aggressive, but we cannot lose it. So we have to go at least 3 phases. Three phases, one is straight. But this one I show you now is a very initial project. We like start. Because we like to see that something will happen. When I will discuss the stuff, it's just why don't you start small. And then the chief minister, they're there to go bigger one. And then we have time to start up, we have some friends come in, like Chinese partner, finance, look at experience, supply, locomotive. They are also interested in sign an MOU. They've been there, and they see the chief minister, they have a meeting with the Minister of Energy, so they are being encouraged. So we are also pushing it. So once we build railroad, once we build highway road, this connect from Yangon to up to the GMS National Park. It will go to the Indian Ocean to South China and Vietnam coast. This is our future generation. But anyway, when we started to do the wild storage or the small or I think we will do a lot and have something to develop in the area. But that area, yes, as I would say, nothing there. No electricity, nothing there. So we like to start up together with the port and also with roads. Then this will be the future export and import port of Myanmar. Because they're not the territory, very high mountains. Go cross border, now supply natural gas and wow to China in the process. So in the middle of this country, you see, so we have not high. So also have people living in that area. I mean, 8 million people. So people get a job, people have fishery farms, and then the army was forming a rice bowl in Myanmar. Now we are to go, and then one state. so they can have a lot of chance on the highway, they can build silos, the rice mill. So we expect that this area will really develop and help the country too. So even for the gasoline, 2014, our budget started from first April and 31st was our sister. So 2014, we owe 2.3 billion US dollar because we don't have crude oil. We have crude oil come along, condensate come along gas. So not enough. We have 3 refineries. So the capacity is less than 50,000 barrels per day. So we have 100,000 barrels with the Chinese company that economic only, but the project is still stopped because the idea that the Ministry of Energy don't want to monopolize the market. That's why we let Trafigura to bring in parallel to make the price ease, to parallel the local orders like that. So there's a lot of chance for the wild traders or the suppliers to be the MYANMar. See, and then not that still cannot build refinery there. So we still have a chance of 1,000 barrels per day refinery, mainly expecting the heavy crude over there. So ladies and gentlemen, I think you got enough information from my colleagues. and then as I explained to you, the country is going open, and then the government, Aung already that she won't make an election back. So the market will be transparent. So we have a lot of chance, and the 2030 already signed the New York Convention. This will also protect investors, not only for local, but also for the foreign investors. So you may have right to consider and invest, think about this is a plan for you to consider. Thank you very much.
So I think we're straight on schedule. We mindful time and again breaking into enjoy lunch together in the room adjacent. But we did want to offer an opportunity to field some questions. Of course, have to do more one-on-one privately after we're done during the lunch. We have some roaming microphones, so we'll field a few. And then the plan for lunch next door, we'll keep APCOL here, and I'm happy to schedule one-on-one meetings and if you're interested during the lunch, which I'll have to say. We have the microphone.
Thanks, interesting talk. Our eyes do one thing we haven't thought before. One question. In the early slides you mentioned you locate gas, I think rig A, 6A. I think it's 94 kilometres away from the coastline.
So the discovery was made in December, in the H6 basin.
Is there no way that you can leverage off those lines, start funding your water business?
It's not yet. Well, that's right. It's not our several different companies involved in exploration. Now that it seems reopened for to serve supply lines.
Okay, thank you for answering this. What see you guys there.
Just a very rough idea, timeline for first brick, cornerstone for phase 1, and how long that should take to complete it. An impossible question. I'll ask it.
I'm happy to take the first step. We'd like to lay cornerstone tomorrow. No, we are committed to having ground break in that 2 year. That's the time we have to march toward. I think if part of the answer to the question is the facilities on the ground. Supply depot, maintenance, relatively easy, clear land, and infrastructure. If you have a direction of those small industrial types along your development. So I think we need to move forward. The other obvious one is financing. Given that we're trying quickly finance. I think that we hope to see projects in the next 12 months. Have it closed and then construction in the follow 12 period. So that we have some room to spare on a 2-year window. But as I said, the second phase we want to run current. The timeline laid out. DFI pursuit of development finance, flat debt as well as local insurance that we will pursue. We plan to initiate that late spring, summer this year.
We already some plans, and then some then we are going to sort of all that that area. So once we decide, we already discuss regional authority to transport and us either these are. So we already bought some plans. So we still buy, but the problem is we don't want to buy directly from farmers and some already bought area. They bought some area that because we don't want to the way problem job shoot. The way now is busy. Last year given around 45 tax. It's around 45,000, less than 45,000 US. Now asking 60,000. So the way that's why we suggested we like to give straight everybody, and my idea is that not only give you but also job them out of the state. How line. So price be not exactly same. So the land also is earlier the high is surrendered in 2014. They went and say we proposed 2010. So before we signed they had problem. See, coming up there was a lot at the table that we carry. So that project coming back to us. So we try to do our best how to people how to keep on the project.
So how is the port connecting to Yangon?
Yeah.
The road, railway.
So far, the road, we can't calculate that, but the road, how can I say, very tough road. So we don't have direct access. So when we check road, the rail road, we may have around, not direct, because as I just one to connect the GNS. So But even for there one state, maybe time in So we see how it's done, including not only hybrid, also the real road. So we consider.
To add to that, we're keen for phase one to work within mainline infrastructure, existing mainline infrastructure. There are demands and support some interest. But to your question, asking that's one of the reasons that phase one we can look at large scenarios. So that's a phase one tied to infrastructure, each needs investment. Certainly as we phase two expansion and having more containerized options, then we can look at some significant rail highway to the retail side.
Because regional finance study might make sense in Myanmar, get just go particularly biggest demands gas. It's given the large scale trade, power sports will see people looking at all from many generation. A feasibility study, a really huge scale fine, probably can sacrifice just for energy security, but let's say for the very time a requirement for a domestic fine. No one's discussing export fossils as an industry job, that could potentially be interesting as East India. East Coast of India doesn't have much products but for domestic purposes, I think you're quite there's no real utility in terms of hunting up here to build $4 billion at the moment. So small scale stuff makes sense. All stuff which is going anyway. So it's probably seen that offline. Sort of Chinese or the transactions happen.
Just another point on that. You have the Asian economics music and why you've got Asian power grid and transaction gas pipeline. There is potential also to the products within the Asian region. I guess you get current capacity. So you can do half of that. So this notion of export buyers the energy ministers within each country to buy some policy. And certainly part of that encourage investment to get regional capacities region.
It seems like access to gas. When I think about going CNG rather than the develop for gas also capabilities.
It's a good question. That's one of the factors is potentially could skew the gas demand side of things. And the problem is most speculative to figure out how much gas would be taken off the export market into domestic use. But it makes sense.